But one thing I noticed is consulting was bloated, taking a long time to get value out the door. Processes get in the way, coordination, all of that stuff really gets in the way of what clients want, which is execution. We're running the process. We install a pull system, right, which is a system I've developed over the last really decade through my experience in consulting and then leading large engineering teams. Really what we're trying to do is value stream the whole process. We're really ingrained with our clients. We want to let the engineers pull work in. The goal is to keep a real short cycle time as much as possible, but how can we get the value out all the time, right? So that we can be validating with the client as we go. I mean, that's how you get to this lean model, right? Is there's nobody translating for you. I think flexibility is the new gold standard in employee benefits. There's this work-life blend, not so much balance. Removing that tension, that 8 to 5 tension, which is I have to be here, I have to take 2 hours of PTO to go, early for a doctor's appointment. And, we hire really good people. They'll do really good work. They know how to manage their time. We have very few meetings. Most of my meetings are done by noon on Monday. And I think that's one way we stand out. You can focus on something, you have time to think and actually do is just a really, really great experience. It's simple things like these hybrid sort of arrangements. This is not a problem. You want to work a half day on Fridays and structure your week accordingly? Go for it. There's not a whole lot of policies. We hire really good people and they have a lot of flexibility. We can scale through technology. We actually have somebody who's part-time working in their last semester of school. And I think a small team can actually help those folks, right? And especially if you have senior engineers, AI is sort of incorporated into all of our processes. It's a big topic, probably more than one podcast worth. And then looking at the landscape of AI, pretty crazy, exciting time.
Hey, really quick, before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to introduce you to me and my podcast. I'm Dylan, the host of Behind the Bill, where we interview small business owners and give people like you inspiration, insights, and actionable tips to make their small business a success. If you like this, please share, like, comment so that I can reach more small business owners just like you.
I'm Matt Truty. Worked with Dylan for a long time. Started BT Pro back last fall. Really, the company has two focuses. One is technology consulting, and the other is product development, software product development. And, on the consulting side, I have a history consulting before I kind of got into, more corporate environment, into retail. So I got to see, early on in my career, what consulting was all about, the good, the bad. It's exciting, but you juggle a lot of things. But one thing I noticed is consulting was bloated. What do I mean by bloated? Taking a long time to get value out the door. Processes get in the way, coordination, all of that stuff really gets in the way of what clients want, which is execution. They want value, right? They want to get stuff done. And so this is a chance for us to sort of provide an alternative approach, right, to the consulting experience, and really one that is value driven. And so when you spend, let's just say you spend an hour with BT, pay for an hour, you're getting 95 to 97% engineering time, right? Value producing work.
Yeah.
In a typical consulting agreement, you're going to have some PM time, some BA time, QA time, coordination. And so what we try to do is really make that lean, right? So that we can get more value out the door. And oftentimes we can get at half the cost of a traditional consulting company. So you're getting it for cheaper and faster and hopefully better as well. So that's what we want to do on the consulting side is really just bring a different approach than where the industry has gone over the last 10 years. On the product side, we want to go solve problems in niche sort of verticals, right? And underserved communities in particular. So that's what makes a good product for us, right? Is it niche? Can we build it with our current team? And is it sort of an underserved community in technology? And that's a pretty good recipe and it's fun and to go help solve those problems. And so on both sides. And I would say there's also a third sort of component of the company, which is we want to be a leader in sort of a modern workplace, right? Whether it comes to benefits and flexibility and our work environment. And we want to value our employees' life outside of work just as much as we do their time inside of work. And I think that's a really unique thing. And not many companies talk that way, right? And so we're trying to hopefully affect some change in how we do that. And so far, it's been really well received.
Yeah. Nice. So I want to dig in on the real quick. You get like 97% of engineering time whenever you're paying for time with you guys. So are your clients bringing project management? How does that work? Is it just engineers talking directly to stakeholders and it's just I built a thing? How does it look? And then you go from there? Explain that.
Yeah, it depends on the client, right? In terms of if they have somebody on their side that is helping line up priority and sort of requirements gathering, but we can do it both ways. And if we're running the process, we install a pull system, right? Which is a system I've developed over the last really decade through my experience in consulting and then leading large engineering teams. And so we bring that pull system of work to all of our client engagements. And who's filling out the details just depends, right? Based on the client. But really what we're trying to do is just line up the next bits of value and just keep working on that, right? And sort of value stream the whole process. And so sometimes we're writing requirements and details, sometimes they are, and it's just sort of a blend of the two.
Yeah. So what does that process look like for like a standard client? Like if they need some software built, or they need you to take over a software system that maybe they abandoned that they need to rebuild, and they have a new feature request, how does that work with you guys?
I mean, we're really ingrained with our clients, right? So it's just a conversation, whether it be in a weekly call or just ad hoc. A lot of the stuff we do, honestly, is ad hoc. We have integrations with different platforms, depending on what the client is using, whether it be Teams or Slack. We could just have conversations all the time. And of course, there's priority to so what we want to go build in a backlog, if you will. But oftentimes it's just a conversation that, hey, here's a problem we're having. Let's go solve it, and we can bring a solution to the table.
Yeah. Can you talk more about the pool system? What do you mean by pool system?
Yeah.
Start there.
Yeah. So really, we want to let the engineers pull work in, not push work in, right? And so what it really means is lining up the next work, the next few weeks worth of work, and letting the engineers pull that in as they have time, right? And then from that process, there's various stages that the work goes through to get out to production. But the goal is to keep a real short cycle time as much as possible to get that value out there. And so that starts with breaking down the asks in sort of reasonable sort of steps and sizes. And obviously, there's some big projects, like if you're going to go do a checkout migration or a Stripe integration, those are going to take a series of months. But how can we get the value out into, say, a dev environment all the time, right? So that we can be validating with the client as we go.
Yeah. So by pool system, you mean the client has a bucket of work they need done, and then engineers can pull that work in instead of the client pushing work to developers. It's developers pulling work in that's been asked for. Is that what
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. And there's always a balance to that, right? Because sometimes there's bugs that come up or urgent customer requests, right? And so you're always balancing that. But as much as possible, let's line the work up in the next few weeks. Let's get through it. Let's pull it in as we have time. And let's line up the next work, right? That's the overall concept.
Yeah. So there is who's going through all this. I'm trying to think of what the workflow looks like for you guys. So whenever something happens, they can literally just talk directly to an engineer. There is no, like, you got to submit a ticket and then the engineers will pull it in, or is it I get to talk to an engineer about the problem I want to solve now?
Yeah, we're integrated with
Great.
Yeah.
I got this idea, let's do it. And then you got 3 other things you got to take care of as well on top of that.
But with some light prioritization and structure, that's not a problem. We have a board that we can use. We have conversations all the time. But if there's problems to go solve, and let's say there's a future idea, we can just add it to the next few weeks or to the good idea list and then pick it back up within our process and let them prioritize it accordingly. So that's not a problem, right? Once you have that sort of structure, you can take all the good ideas, let's have the conversations. And so our whole team is integrated with the client, right? There's no go-between, which I think is that's how you get to this lean model, right? Is there's nobody translating for you. We're just working in real time, the engineers with the client, and there's no go-between person.
I like that. That's cool. So as a client of yours, I would be talking directly to the person that's going to build my thing.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. And there's variants, like sometimes I'll take requests and document them and stuff, but yeah, typically.
Yeah. Are you guys also, speaking of documentation, are you guys also working with your clients to make sure all their systems are documented, or who takes on that responsibility?
It would be the folks writing code, right? And especially if sometimes there's documentation for them or demos, like here's how to use a thing, here's how they can train folks. But a lot of it is real time. And again, just depends on the client. But, the folks writing it and building the things will write the documentation demos that are needed.
Very cool. Let's back out of the techie business stuff and let's talk more about the work-life balance, the employee experience.
Yeah, the good stuff
at BT Pro. So how would you say you guys are different, or how would you say you're leading the charge with how you are dealing with the employer-employee relationship?
Yeah, it starts with flexibility. I think flexibility is the new gold standard in employee benefits. And I believe it's a more modern way to work where there's this work-life blend, if you will, not so much balance, but this blend. And life happens and things come up and you need to take time. So removing that tension, that 8 to 5 tension, which is I have to be here, I have to take 2 hours of PTO to go early for a doctor's appointment or any of those sort of things. Well, that's all off the table with us. And we hire really good people. They'll do really good work. They know how to manage their time. And so that flexibility, that's unique, you know. And then beyond the flexibility, we have very few meetings. Most of my meetings are done by noon on Monday. And so having uninterrupted time to work is huge. And I've been in various roles where meetings have come to dominate the work life. And I think there's a lot in current workplaces that could be evolved. And I think there's some innovation that needs to happen. And I think that's one way we stand out is that we are not meeting heavy at all. And we have a lot of time to do great work, which is for all of us relieving, right? You can focus on something, you have time to think and actually do is just a really, really great experience.
You create a good work-life blend. I like the way of using the word blend instead of balance, because it really is like work is something we have to do to live. So thinking of work-life balance makes me think people don't want to work. The fact that people want to work because they want food, but they want to work in a way that's like that works with their lifestyle. Like I think of the good old days of like I had to work whenever I needed to go forage food, like like cavemen. Like working was like survival, and we're a little bit removed from that. But we want that. Like I want to work enough to feed my family and do everything I need to do to be responsible, as well as scratch that itch of like creativity and innovation. So I really like the thought of work-life blend, because that's really what it is. I think that the industry should start to move to work-life blend instead of balance. So I like how you said that.
Yeah, and it's simple things. Like some companies offer these hybrid sort of arrangements in the summer. Let's say you can work, 4-day weeks or something, and just in the summer, or these other various sort of hybrid work arrangements. Well, that's all off the table for us too. It's just not a problem. Let's say we have somebody that wants to structure their week to work 4 days a week in the summer. Go for it. Nothing's stopping you. You want to work a half day on Fridays and structure your week accordingly? Go for it. So we're not putting those constraints on folks, right? And of course, if we have client obligations or product obligations, we weave those in to our life. But beyond that, there's not a whole lot of policies and structure around that. We hire really good people and they have a lot of flexibility. As much flexibility as owning their own company, except they don't have to worry about the hassle of owning their own company.
I am slowly getting the headache of why it's worth being employed instead of an employer, because it's a pain. So figure out, like, learn what the difference in sole proprietorship and all the other things are.
Yeah, taxes will get you every time, but it goes beyond flexibility. Everything from compensation, how we've structured the company. We want to pay people really well for our region. We want to pay top dollar for our region, but we also want them to benefit from their hard work, right? And so whether that's profit sharing or a liquidity pool, as folks and bonuses, we have a whole bonus structure. So as we do well, we want them to do well, and we give a significant portion of our profit back to our employees because their hard work should pay off. And we built that in from the beginning, because in some companies, usually the folks at the top have the bonuses and incentives, the folks at the bottom don't, and we want everyone in the company to benefit from their hard work and the stuff we build. So that's unique. Not a lot of companies are structured that way. And also one of our principles is we want sustainable practices for the long term, not profit at all cost, right? And so we're actually not trying to make the most money that we can make, right? And sacrifice some of our other values of having a small team and this balance and having plenty of time in our life to do really fun, exciting, interesting work, but then to go live our lives and do really fun, interesting things in our personal lives, right? So if we pay people really well, we offer the best flexibility, we offer really interesting work and great people to work with, that's what's going to keep this team together for a very long time.
Yeah, nice. So you're very public about that, obviously. Like you want to be a place that's desired to work at, right? Have you heard anything like are your clients hearing about this at all? Like, what do your clients have any thoughts, or do they share any thoughts with you on how flexible you are with your employees, that kind of thing?
No, not at all, because we deliver what I think is the very best consulting service you'll find and deliver value consistently and great stuff. So, no, never has come up, honestly, because our service, we really pour our hearts and souls into giving a really great service and providing great value with all the things we've discussed. And so they're very happy with our system. And yeah, it's not been a conversation.
Nice. You said something there, like when it comes to like profit sharing, usually the C-suite, maybe some higher level managers, like they have performance incentives, and it doesn't quite trickle down to the engineering, the people doing the stuff. And you said the main feature that you guys have is like you're able to do that profit sharing with the people doing the work. As you grow, how do you plan on managing like your growth and making sure that there isn't this big middle management thing that everybody is like scared of? Nobody wants it. It always happens. So like, what's your strategy going into growth and then managing, more developers and more projects and keeping, those engineers working directly with the client?
Yeah.
Managing, you got a team of 20 developers is one thing versus, 50 developers. What's your goal there with like middle management type of stuff?
We're never going to grow to a point where we need it.
Nice.
That's the simple answer. So we're going to be a small and unified team. We have a very specific number in mind in terms of the size of the company. And with scale comes complexity, comes overhead. And so we're going to stay very small and unified. And inevitably, that means saying no to some opportunities, right? So it's not growth at all costs. It's sustainable practices for the long term. And so you have to say no or not yet. Adding this particular opportunity would upset our values and what we're trying to build here. And so we take that very seriously, sort of our core values and our goals with the company, and that sort of guides all our decision making.
And so the end goal there is to reach a number of people, helping you build client like asks, as well as building up the products that you guys want. Right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And you can do a lot with a pretty small team. And now with the technology that's available, we can scale through technology and not through large headcount. And so that's the goal.
Can I ask you, what are your thoughts on lower level developers? So right now, obviously, you're starting out hiring more senior people, which I think is the right call, right? You want to hire senior developers to really punch through all of these tasks that you're giving them, whether it's client work or your own products that you're working on. Where do you see like the mid to junior level developer fit in that kind of world? Does it fit at your at BT Pro? And then like, where does it fit just in tech in general?
Absolutely. So for BT Pro, it absolutely fits. We actually have somebody who's part-time working in their last semester of school. And I think a small team can actually help those folks, right? And especially if you have senior engineers and can give them more attention than maybe in a large team where there might be a lot of folks around them, a lot of seniors around them, but what sort of dedicated time do they get to help them grow? So, and I think in any organization, that's true, that you need to have places to bring up the next generation, in this case of engineers, and to help mentor them and to give them a place where they can, a safe place where they can learn from folks around them. So that fits in BT and I think a lot of companies. When it comes to AI and how that's transforming development, I think it is going to change it very radically. Like the days of us typing all the code out are over. It's gone and it's here right now. So, folks who are coming out of school, well, what do they need to learn? I think it's the things they've needed to learn for the last however many years, forever. How to be a critical thinker, right? How to have emotional intelligence, how to be able to solve problems, how to be able to learn. And if you can do those things, you're going to have success no matter where the technology goes, no matter how the world transforms around us. You just have to have the ability, right, to be a good person, to learn, to be hungry to learn, the ideal team player model, right?
How are you guys implementing? Can you share how you guys are implementing AI in your development process right now?
Yeah, it's become a big part of everything we do. From working on legacy apps to building new applications from the ground up. And AI is sort of incorporated into all of our processes, and it's something we're really excited about. And it gives us the ability, again, to scale through technology. And whether that's using IDEs like Cursor or the latest in VS Code, they've released some really exciting things over the last few days, similar to Cursor, to using Copilot Chat. Right? That's kind of been the typical norm over the last couple of years as AI has started to get incorporated into these workflows. So all that's incorporated into what we do, and it really helps us produce software, valuable software at a much faster rate, and something we're really excited about.
Do you have any tips or words of wisdom for, the developers that know AI is out there, but it's, just another thing that they have to go figure out? Like, do you have any quick wins for them? Literally what to install, where to go look, who's talking about it online? Any tips for the person who wants to get AI integrated in their system, but just doesn't know where to start?
Yeah, and first I would say you have to embrace the technology, because if you don't, somebody who knows it will replace you, right? And so I wouldn't be afraid of it. I wouldn't say it's not here yet. It's here right now. So immerse yourself in the technology. What I would tell anyone to go do is go download Cursor, the Cursor IDE, and go build something tonight. Have a problem, find a problem, and go build it tonight in Cursor and see how it goes.
There's not enough to-do apps. So go build a to-do app with...
Please don't build another to-do app.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I like that. What do you have to say to the business owners themselves, since we're on AI? Obviously, AI is here. It's making employees more productive. Do you have anything to them that's less developer focused, but more CEO, maybe even CFO focused, of what should you be doing with AI?
Yeah, and it's a big topic, probably more than one podcast worth.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what I would say is that,
Where do I start? There's a
Yeah.
lot of people out there who know it's there. They know it can help their business. They
That's
just
right.
don't know where to start. What to
Well, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard, right? There's so many tools, and every day something new gets announced, and it's this just crazy sort of, tornado of information. And so something that we're working on is an actual AI framework, right, that can help a company get the landscape of AI across their business. What's out there? What do they need to incorporate, and how do they need to incorporate it? And so that's available now. So we just launched strategic consulting services. We can bring that framework to people, and oftentimes it's just cataloging the various tools across an organization, how those tools are used, how those tools are not used, quite frankly, right? What is the utilization percentage on those tools? And then looking at the landscape of AI, as you know, models are different, tools are different, right? And so sort of bringing a framework to that to say, okay, across your productivity stack, here's what you need to be thinking about, right? Across your marketing stack, here's what you need to be thinking about. Your internal operations, here's what you need to be thinking about. And sort of bringing a bit of calm to a pretty crazy, exciting time.
Yeah. What was that service called that you just said? I saw a post on LinkedIn. What was it? What's it called? Strategic?
Well, yeah, strategic technology consulting. And so really up and down every part of the organization, whether it's a technology leader, a software engineer, all the way up to the board of directors, to HR, to talk about, right, some of the things we discussed, and flexibility and employee benefits. So we can really bring that at any level of the organization. We can also tell you how to incorporate AI across all of those levels as well.
I like that. So it's more of just a starting place when I have that question. And I have the ability to just hire someone to help me figure out the problem. That's what you guys are offering there. It's I just want to figure this out. It's come help me.
That's right. And hopefully to solve more problems, to get more valuable software out there, to empower your employees, become a force multiplier for your employees, right? That's the goal. And it's not about replacing people, right? There's all these conversations, AI is going to take our job, the robots are coming. Our focus is really about giving people better technology, which is what we've been trying to do, right, Dylan, for the last, or I guess for our entire career, right, is to create software that helps individuals and businesses do various things. And so it's no different. It's just that the power of the technology has just transformed in really remarkable ways. So how can we bring that to businesses to help them get the most out of their current technology and future technology?
I like that. I think that is definitely going to be an important field, helping people step into this next era of productivity. Honestly, I think we're experiencing another industrial revolution. Kind of.
It absolutely is. And now the cost to create software is driven down to zero, where you can spin up, sort of these bespoke solutions in no time to go solve very specific problems in your organization. And things that would have taken weeks or months now take days or weeks. And it's really transformational.
Oh, there's stuff out there. Have you heard of Lovable? Yeah, Lovables. I mean, I don't want to give them a shout out or promote them, but they're
Free advertising?
Yeah, come sponsor Lovable, but you prompt it and then it puts all the code on your GitHub and it'll even deploy it for you and all this stuff. It's great. So people are already doing it. They're fine tuning the LLMs. Who would have knew that, computers were really good at making computers do things?
Yeah, it's unbelievable and quite fascinating how you can use AI to help AI build and sort of AI against AI. There's really remarkable things you can do and new products coming out every day, and which is part of the challenge, right? Is this a whirlwind of information and things to go learn? And what I would tell back to your question of like, what would you tell folks, engineers, new engineers? There's so many new things to go learn. How are AI agents going to talk to these other systems as sort of agentic workflows? And now, you see MCP, popping up, which is really this middle layer between an API and an agent or a system. And so there's so many new things to go learn. And so don't get caught up on, I'm not going to be typing the JavaScript, so I have no value. Programming is dead. No, like use the technology to go build things faster, build them better, and go learn the new things that are coming out with it.
Yeah, my big thing is if your value you bring to a company is like knowing like JavaScript and like not understanding the complexities of the problems the business is trying to solve,
That's right.
and you deserve to get, I mean, it's rough, but you know how I talk. Like this is how I talk. You deserve to get taken over by someone who does know that stuff as well as knows how to implement in a way that works for the business. Like there's so many developers who care more about JavaScript than they care about
That's right.
solving complex problems.
That's right. And
Yeah.
and that's the sweet spot, is you need to be able to sort of bridge between the business and technology, and to be able to think and to learn about the business and incorporate those learnings back into your work. Right. And before our eyes, the world of software engineering is being transformed. And again, if you are still building code and writing code the way you've done it for the last 10 years, by the end of this year for sure, and by the end of next year, you will be replaced. Like the computers are going to take the mundane away, which is actually exciting to me. No more writing unit tests. It can generate the unit tests. You validate then those unit tests, right? And so you still need to know how to build software and how to build systems and how to scale systems, but you don't have to spend all the time doing the grunt work in producing that code. And still, the tools are 80%, I would say, tools. Some, for some languages and some use cases, closer to 100%, but still it can do a lot of the heavy lifting, and you can then do the refining, which to me is the fun part of building.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. Like it's very exciting that I don't have to go be a master algorithm brain person, and I can just
create and build and solve. It's transformational.
And if you do want to go solve hard, complex problems, and the problems like that are going to need to be solved are just a lot more harder, actually, because there's a bunch of work in the middle, right? We have our easy like intern work, and we have our super like complicated PhD computer science problems, and then we have all this work in the middle, which is most of it that most of us are solving. And it's like you get to find your home in there, and it'll be done a lot quicker, or you get to go down here and like build all the models they're solving all these hard problems.
That's right.
Exciting.
Yeah, no doubt.
And bigger impact. Like we don't
Of course.
worry about the lower impact issues because they're already taken care of and easy.
Already taken care of.
Yeah.
And we can focus on the higher value things. And what I would say to anyone getting into software engineering, computer science, I'll give you an analogy. If I asked you to go dig a hole in the backyard with a spoon, you'd be like, what the heck? Like, why would I go dig a hole in the backyard with a spoon? But very soon, if you're programming like you've been programming for the last 10 years, it will be like you're digging a hole with a spoon in your code, right? And so you really need to embrace the technology, learn it, understand it, so that you can really accomplish things at a greater pace and scale than we've ever been able to do, right? And if not, you will be left behind in this field.
Well said. Well said. All right. So let's shift back again to there's three dynamics here. We haven't got to the third one, but there's two we've been talking about so far. We've been talking about, like building good software and like harboring a good experience for people like in their work life. Are there any like situations that you can think of, like a memorable success story where like the way you guys work really served an employee well?
An employee?
Yeah.
I can think of many, even flexible hours, right? And, if somebody's got a lot going on in their life, sometimes like getting to 40 hours is not doable, right? So even just removing that barrier and that burden and letting folks, let life come at them and to adjust to it would be a big one. I think of, with my kids and then our employees with their kids, the ability to be home when they get off the bus, or it's sunny outside in the middle of the winter. I want to go play with them. So I'm going to go in the afternoon and play with the kids when they get home from school. Those sort of things, those sort of moments are not typically accessible to most workers, right? They're at the office, they got to be there for a certain amount of time. And so just to be able to walk outside and play with your kids because it happens to be 60 in Indiana in the middle of the winter, those would be some of the things that, like, it's hard to even quantify, Dylan, but over time it just adds up in really significant ways.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. How long have you guys been doing this?
Since September of last year, September 2024.
Wow. So super quick. We're moving super fast. You've got how big of a team right now?
We have 11 people as of today.
As of today, a new name, huh?
Listen, we've got a plan, and we're really excited about our growth. And, like I said, 11 today, and who sees what, tomorrow looks like. We'll see.
Hopefully not too many.
No, that's that small unified team, right? And we have a very specific max. And so, so we're definitely, I would say, on the tail end of our growth.
Nice. What is BT Pro Solutions building that you're excited about right now?
Gosh, everything.
Art with
The company, the culture, work for our clients. I mean, it's exciting. And I'll just kind of go through the three phases of this company and give you some examples. On the consulting side, to be able to get a large amount of work done in a short period of time is really fulfilling. And to help our clients transform, whether it be migrating to a CRM or building a new application for their manufacturing processes, like, there's so many cool wins just in serving them and doing it in such a way where you feel like you are providing great value at a great price. That's super exciting. On the product side, we've got many irons in the fire and some really cool product ideas. And what I can tell you is, again, focusing on these sort of niche vertical communities and in industries, and the ability to rapidly now bring those ideas to life is really exciting. So a lot of product momentum. And then obviously on the company side, to just see the effects of our culture and of our flexibility on our employees and their lives, from stress levels coming down to happiness levels going up and fulfillment in their work going up. And all of that is very rewarding. And even for me personally, to have the sort of balance in your life, to have the sort of, as much exciting work as you want with great people, but also as much balance as you need in your personal life and flexibility as you need. It's a unique combination that I think is a more modern way to work. And that's what we're trying to do.
So you said you have a lot of irons in the fire. How do you decide which to focus on?
That's great.
Yeah. What's your process? Or is it anybody else have a good process that you're learning right now?
Now, listen, there's no shortage of good ideas. There's no shortage of problems to go solve with technology. You just have to look, just talk to some people, go talk to a business and just hear some of the things that might be slowing them down, and you'll get 5 different ideas. What I would tell you is we've come up with a really solid product evaluation framework, if you will, and not the kind of framework that's going to take weeks to put together, but might take a day to put together, that is helping us check those boxes, right? Is it niche? Can we build it with this team? What is the problem? Is it clear? What's the competition? What's the opportunity? How much is it going to take to build? And so we run through that framework and very quickly get a sense for, is this a yes or no? And it spits out a numerical formula for us, which is like green light, yellow light, red light. And if it's yellow light, we keep researching and all that kind of stuff. So, there's a lot of, you have to be systematic in product development, I think, because there's so many good ideas that you could get distracted, right, from those in that sea of good ideas and be chasing a whole bunch of things. I'm always happy to talk to anybody about what we're seeing in AI and how businesses can really use it, and about the company, our work-life balance, consulting, any of it.
So you have some kind of system in place you have some questions you need to answer. And then at the end of that process, this framework, you get like an objective score on should we do it or should we not?
Not every good idea we have the bandwidth to do, right? And so you have to decide sort of and look at the opportunity size, cost to build, and weigh those factors. And some ideas get stacked in sort of a pipeline, and some we have parallel paths going on others. So there's no shortage of good ideas. It's the hard part. It's like you want to go build it all. The amazing thing about AI and some of the technology we're now stepping into is that we can go and solve more ideas than we ever thought possible with the size of team that we're going to end up having.
Yeah. Which means there's just going to be even more ideas because we'll have more bandwidth to think of more things.
I know. It's a never-ending cycle, which is the exciting part of product development.
Yep. A quote that I try to remind myself of, like, man, this is hard. It's like, yeah, it's hard. It's because like there's always gonna be a lot of opportunity and not enough resources to take advantage of that opportunity. And then which resources you throw at which opportunities, that's strategy. So people like aren't thinking of things strategically. They're just going with, how they're feeling, and they're not giving those decisions enough weight. So anybody like listening that is dealing with a bunch of, I have to go do these 10 things or my thing won't be successful. It's like, that's just not true, because everyone has been given limited resources and unlimited possibilities, and they used strategy to determine which one of those things to go chase. And you, as like the person making those decisions, that's what's going to make or break you, is how you strategize and you prioritize those things against each other.
And it starts with our values of the company and our goals and this work-life balance and the sustainable practices, and that guides that decision making. And then we have long-term and short-term strategy, short-term objectives, and then here's where we want to go over the next year and some of that sort of stuff. But to me, it starts with the company values, and that sort of guides the decision making, because we could take on a bunch of work, whether it be consulting, whether it be product, but we're going to have to work 70 hours a week. No, thank you. We're not interested in that. And so that helps guide some of the strategy. And then it's just a matter of opportunity size and how many people can we go affect with this thing and help with this thing. And there are going to be some small ideas that, go out there, and there's going to be some big ideas that go out there, and a mix of those. But right, you're constantly evaluating the ideas against the current landscape. And that's something we're using AI for as well, right? To actually go through and constantly be looking at our strategy and tracking to our strategy and thinking about the evolving technology landscape around us and how that gets incorporated in all the time. A lot of tools out there to help sort of inform that strategy, whether it be internally or with some technology.
Are there any specific products you want to talk about that you guys are developing that you're excited about?
We just launched one on Monday called AutoIncrement.io. And this is a very technical product. Most of our products won't be this technical, but we saw a need working with HubSpot where they don't have an auto increment field. And this would be really helpful if you have someone who has various, let's say they have cases, returns, warranties, various cases coming into their CRM, and you want to have a very set sort of case ID that increments. Well, you can't do that in HubSpot right now. And so we're like, what if we just built a little API that people with distributed systems, NoSQL systems could use to accurately generate auto increment IDs? And, it's a problem a lot of people are trying to solve with those systems, and there's no real good solution. So we launched that just this last Monday and received some really good feedback on it. And so there's an example of a really small thing, but could be really impactful. It's just sort of fun to build, easy to build in less than a week and get it out there. So that's something, there'll be something releasing today that I'm excited, and we call it We All Play. And this is really a product geared for the community to help folks find activities for their kids. There's no real unified way here in Fort Wayne for folks to actually search for local activities. You can go to some sites that have some activities, but nothing that's unified looking across the city with very specific, hey, I want to find sports activities for my 7-year-old. There's not something out there actually. And so that will be launching today, sort of breaking news. So we'll be getting We All Play out there.
A few weeks ago for everybody listening, but
yes. Okay. A few weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking backwards. So really excited about that, to get that out there and for the community to start using it. No real monetization play on this one, other than there's a need in the community. Someone on the team had a great idea. What if we could go fill this need? And we say, yep, that's a great idea. Let's go knock it out.
That's awesome. Yeah, so whenever I'm like, we're in a new town, we just went to Madison, Wisconsin last weekend, and like you Google like things to do in Madison, Wisconsin, and like the .gov site is there, but it's not that good. And then there's like the local news outlets got a list of things, and sometimes Facebook events show. Google does an okay job, but there is no really good one source for it. And so like that's even been top of my mind. Like, I think if you guys could just go fix that for me, that'd be wonderful. Like one source of truth where I can say, I'm into this, I'm into this, I'm into this. Give me everything in this town. That's
another idea right there. I'll have to run that through the evaluation framework.
Yeah, won't be worth it to build, but promise. That's cool. So that was someone on the team that came up with that idea. So it's like very much so like everybody brings their ideas and then you guys go build it.
Yeah, in fact, I would say our 4 main ideas we're chasing, Caleb and I did not come up with.
Nice.
In fact, yeah, we really value that in not just we value good ideas. We have a channel where we're constantly looking at new ideas and vetting it, and people are invested in what we're doing, and we want them to be successful as they bring ideas to us and to sharing that success. It's just a part of the culture, I suppose, but we're a team of builders and we love to go solve problems. And so that's just sort of natural, I guess, to the culture.
Nice. Bouncing back to auto increments, that is a very niche problem to go solve. You saw it and then you probably needed to build it and you're like, well, we might as well just make this available to other people. So that is like, I've got a distributed system and I need a common identifier between all of the objects. Like, so I've got a person object that's in 5 different services. I need some source of truth for what the heck the ID for that person is. That isn't their PII email.
Right.
Or like you got products or something like that. Instead of like people manually putting in some information to identify that, you've got an automated system that can give it a unique
That's right.
ID.
And more human friendly than a GUID or something, right? Because you could certainly use a GUID as an ID to identify, but who wants to remember that long of a string? So if you can see, O dash 1235 versus some GUID, that's just a little bit of a nicer experience for those users actually in the application every day.
You should use, you should be a flag or like maybe some kind of callback function where you can generate an ID, but like where it uses random names. Like, how Docker does random, like,
hey, not a bad idea.
What is a random Docker image name? I'm doing this live right now. Docker desktop. It's like, yeah, Hopeful Susan, like random. Like, I love how Docker.
Sounds like Docker should just make that a service.
Yeah, really, they missed an opportunity. What other like services are you guys excited about? Something that you want to plug real quick?
I think it's the strategic consulting services and the ability to help people get more done with the technology than they are right now. So to get more out of technology and take the AI buzzword out of it, just quite simply get more done with technology. And so we're really excited about that and to show people, here's what we're seeing. Here's how we're able to accomplish that in BT. Here's how we've helped other clients. The other thing I would say is we really very soon are going to come out with some community sort of themed initiatives and just bringing the Fort Wayne tech community together, whether that be through some events, some partnerships with new organizations that have sprung up like Fort Wayne Tech. And we also want to focus, yes, on leadership, but really on the doers. Who are the folks doing the work around this community, doing cool things? We believe that there are stories just waiting to be told across the city from folks who are like you and me, who are building, who are doing interesting things, whether in a corporation, in a small business. And so we really want to highlight those folks and tell those stories. And I think that will help motivate others to get into our field, to get into technology, whether you started from a computer science degree or you came in through a boot camp transferring in from another career. There's really cool stories to tell. And so we want to highlight those folks and those stories. So some cool community initiatives coming over the next year. We really want to pour into Fort Wayne and continue to help it become known as a tech hub, because I think there's a lot going on here that people don't realize. And so we want to have a voice in that.
Yeah, that's very cool. I have been really big on that as well, trying to just like this right here, trying to get more stories and learn from other people, because 2 things always come out of it. You always get like strategic takeaways, like you can hear what somebody else is going through, and then usually they will have something to share. And then also just like encouragement of like, if Matt can do it, I can do it, that kind of thing.
Certainly, if I can do it, anybody can do it. I tell you that.
And so I want to transition to the final part of this, which is getting a little more personal with like your experiences in entrepreneurship. And just, you've done consulting for a while, you've been in big business for a bit, and then now you're kind of going back into this entrepreneurship, which is kind of probably working with some pretty big businesses as clients. Do you have anything that sticks out? Any big lessons you've learned? What I'm looking for, like, what's your biggest failures? Like, what have you learned from experiences in the past?
Yeah. And My experience, my dad was an entrepreneur, had 4 businesses. I grew up working in those businesses. And honestly, Dylan, I didn't think I would start a business. So got in consulting in the first part of my career and did that and really enjoyed it. Got to work across a bunch of different industries with different companies. Moved into retail and e-commerce at scale, which was a great experience. Sort of started as a programmer up to an executive role, managed a large team of developers, over 100 developers, QA testers, project managers. And that ultimately led me back to a smaller business, starting my own. And I think some of it is the ability to stay hands-on and build. With scale, you can drift from actually building and doing and more managing and operations. And so I really love building. And I think right now in time is a unique time for small teams to do amazing things. So that's what we're trying to do. And then just to have the freedom and flexibility to build the kind of company I want to work for. And selfishly, this is the kind of company I want to work for, and also extending that to our employees. And so from that perspective, I think to have the ability to live a flexible modern life, to focus on the things that we find important, to solve the kind of problems that we want to solve. It's hard to do that on somebody else's time. And so I think ultimately that's what makes this unique and special, and why I decided ultimately to do it. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, never thought I would actually take the jump, but I did, and I'm really happy I did.
What has surprised you so far?
Boy, what has surprised me so far? Taxes.
That is seriously mine. It's rough.
Oh, man. Gosh, I don't know if there's any one thing that surprised me. Well, maybe there is one. I always thought I wanted to work in an environment where I was in office and around people, and I like, being around people. What surprised me is how much I enjoy working from home. And, I still get out a lot for lunches. We have an office, and so we'll go down to the office once a week, twice a week, ad hoc, sort of, to get together as a team or have some sessions. But I have loved working from home, and just the flexibility it's given our family. I didn't think I would like it as much as I've liked it. So that's maybe one thing that shocked me. What I've really enjoyed is it stretched my brain in new ways, whether it's figuring out benefits and how a 401k really works on the other side, or health insurance really works as an employer, diving into expense ratio negotiation of 1ks, and just all sorts of different things that I wouldn't have been exposed to, that I've gotten to learn, has been challenging, rewarding. Again, I just think the ability to control all aspects of what we're trying to do, from strategy to sort of the company culture. And I don't even like the word culture, and I'm sure my team will laugh hearing me say that word. But I think we're in the lifestyle business more than we are the technology business, right? It's like you have to have that figured out, and that inevitably leads to really good things on the other side. So yeah, not surprising, but lots of new challenges and stretching my brain in different ways.
Yeah. So if you could go back to Matt at 25 years old, who maybe thought he wouldn't own a business, what would you go say to that version of Matt now?
Yeah, I would say a couple things. One, what are you waiting for? It's the first thing. But the other thing is, I was very ambitious, especially early in my career, and thought I could outwork the next guy, and I still think I could. And so what I've really learned, over the course of my career, is that hard work for the sake of hard work is not the way, and you need to find that balance, and you can burn out. And there are things more important in life than working around the clock in your job to get somewhere. And so that's what I would tell Matt when I was 25, is just listen, there's a lot of other important things in life, and to balance it out. And so finding that balance is key. Ambition is fine. It can certainly get you places, but be careful what you are missing and what you're saying no to.
Yeah, that's good. So would that differ from what you would say to anybody else who is looking to find success in their business?
Yeah, a couple things. I think start small. Bootstrapping is great. I mean, it's a great way to validate an idea. We've grown the company to this point with zero sales effort. So that what that tells me is we've got something here that people want and are looking for. Really great validation of the direction we're heading. And so I would say that to bootstrap your company and solve a real problem, rather than trying to solve something and then get, sort of invent the problem or getting people to come buy the thing, whether it be a service or a product. And I would also say, that you need to surround yourself with the right people and with good, hardworking, ideal team players and people that are humble first and hungry to learn and to excel and interpersonally smart and easy to work with. And I mean, that's just core for me, is that you have to have really, really great people to do really, really great things.
You said humble, hungry, smart. Can you give me 3 book recommendations?
I can give you one. It's called The Ideal Team Player,
Yeah.
which is really this whole model, and something I used really in my last job in my leadership position is carried over to the company. But in this company, it's different. And there, I preached it more and I talked about it more. We don't even talk about it over here because that's just the way we work. It's the people we hire. I don't even think I've used the word ideal team player in the last 6 months. It just is so natural to everything we do. Again, that's who we hire. You never have to talk about it. You never have to sort of bring it up. I guess if you're trying to teach folks about the process, but beyond that, it's just not really a thing. So it starts with hiring those great folks.
Anything else you wanna plug? Anything you want to leave the people listening to this with before I mute you?
Yeah, I would say, for people who are looking for help, always happy just to talk about tech like this, what we're seeing. If you're interested in, whether it be benefits, product development, software consulting, always happy to help. But I would encourage people, we need more conversations like this. We need more folks in Fort Wayne talking about what they're doing, because I think that spurs new ideas and that motivates folks who maybe were on the fence about starting a company, or who maybe weren't sure if now is the time to jump into AI. We need to be having these conversations around town, I think, to highlight just what's possible to encourage folks. So I appreciate you, Dylan, sort of taking on this effort, this podcast in what you're trying to do to contribute to the conversation. I think it's important.